Okay, so we're here in New Orleans. I'm here with Brendon and Linda. And the reason why I'd like to do this quick interview, Brendon and Linda, is I'm getting a question from my students here, but is the formula for riches and the wealth creator strategy, is it working? And what feedback do you have for us, and how is your students, how are they doing and stuff like that? Now, you basically joined, I think it was in December, like 6 years ago.
Yeah, I've been a student, I think, for about 10 years, but then in 2010, December, that was the tipping point at the Wealth Creators University.
Tell us your experience from then till now. What happened in your life? Are you glad you attended the Wealth Creators University? Has it benefited you?
No, it was terrible. No, I'm joking. It was absolutely wonderful. So one of the things that was quite incredible was Linda and I had a hard time overcoming the cost of going to the university right at the beginning, because it was quite a substantial sum for us at that particular time. And Linda said, look, we just do it, and whatever we learn, we've got to apply that and make the money back within 30 days. And I was 1 day late.
And that is one of the things that I think is very important. You must have the intent. If you do a course, any course, you must decide beforehand what is it that you want, and then make sure that that becomes your intent, and then make sure that you follow through. So that you can get the results, because that is exactly what you've done, although you missed your deadline with the day.
Yeah, I missed it with the day because...
forgive you on that one.
Yeah, I was late with my invoicing and the customer paid it a day later. But I did get the money back, in fact, more than the money that I paid for the course on that time. But then since then, the growth has been explosive. I mean, I'm sitting here with you now in New Orleans. We've been traveling for 10 days, and it's simply because I applied the formula for riches diligently through everything that I've done for the last 6 years. And it's been on business side as well as on property investment side, so much so that property investment became what I actively do now, along with some other businesses as well. And it's afforded me the opportunity to be able to take 10 days out with my wife, who's traveling with us, and Tanya, who's traveling with us, and have a fantastic time with you, doing whatever we want, whenever we want. But at the same time, we've worked a little bit here and there, maybe not very hard, but very effectively, because of the way we've designed our lives. And a lot of it's been, almost all of it's been from your teachings at the university. In fact, we apply it so diligently that any decision we make needs to be either formula for riches based or not. And then if it isn't, we start questioning why and what are we doing.
Linda, when I
She's
look
the
at
smart
you,
one.
Oh, yeah, that's why I asked her to sit with us for the interview. But I think your life also changed quite dramatically. Well, the two of you, but specifically you. You had certain intent, and how did it pan out for you?
Well, I was brought up in a very sort of conventional household where you go to university, you get a job, and that's what you do. And you either do better at your job, and that's just it. There's nothing more to it.
And what degree do you have? What's your background?
I'm technically a BE engineer, mechanical engineering. I did a 5-year degree. And then after that, I furthered my studies. I did project management, because project engineers as a career earn more money. So that's what I did, and that's what I focused on. And in my opinion, I did really well. I focused on always improving myself, at least in my area of focus, because you've done a degree, you've got to kind of do something with it. But I always had a little bit of a discord that my salary was always limited to what the company I was working with could afford to pay. And you know, you can only go so far as the company goes, and if the company does badly, you do badly. It even got to the point where I was a manager, in a position of being a manager of several people. And you know, I was preaching to them how they need to take control of their lives and how they need to improve themselves. And here we are in a corporate environment, which is...
It was very difficult.
It's kind of limiting, you know. I'm trying to have this entrepreneurial outlook on a corporate lifestyle, which didn't seem to work very well for me.
And then we had kids.
Yeah, and then we had kids. But also going to the university, it made me see the corporate life in a very different way. It made me see how restrictive it was, and how limiting it is to you, your time, your freedoms, your everything. Actually, how it entraps you into the system, how you got to rely on the debt and the income in order to pay that debt, and how it's this vicious cycle that it doesn't matter how much you earn, you're always getting yourself back into that debt trap.
And your time isn't your own.
And your time is never your own. I mean, for me, even as a manager, I felt I had to show my staff that I had to be there on time, and then I had to stay there and put in the hours, leave on time, whatever the lunch break was, and that was determined by somebody else.
And it was regardless of whether you were productive or effective.
Yeah.
It was simply those hours.
I mean, as a manager, I knew. I mean, 10 o'clock, before 10 o'clock, nobody does anything. They sit and have coffee and they drink juice, and only at 10 o'clock do they do anything. And then at about 4:30, everyone's getting ready to go home. I mean, I know. I mean, I did it myself. So after going to the university, I was like, there is a better way. There must be a better way of doing this, even for myself, because I realized that I was in that position. I was the youngest manager in that company, never mind female manager. Because I'd invested in myself, I invested in looking how I could further what I had, which happened to be an engineering degree. And how doing courses and just broadening my information base helped me get better at what I was, to the point where my boss wanted me to take his place, and I was 20 odd years his junior. But then children came along, and because of our mindset around how business is done and how the formula for riches can apply to your everyday life, from grocery shopping to whatever it is just your mindset and how you put it together. We decided that that's the lifestyle we wanted. We wanted to be able to live a low risk, high reward lifestyle.
And that is so not the norm.
No.
So not the norm.
The moment that you start looking at low risk, high growth, everyone will tell you it's not possible. But in terms of the way that you design your lifestyle, the two of you, that's spectacular, because there's basically very, very little risk, but the rewards, the growth, the personal growth that I've seen in you is incredible. And just because at one stage in your life you decided, I'm going to take the responsibility, I'm going to follow a system, and by owning that system, you've changed your life completely around. And I mean, I've worked as well, but not longer than half an hour a day or 2 days in a 2-day period. Linda, when you decided to have children, do you think that this decision that you've made like 6 years ago helped you in making the decision and say, okay, but I don't need the corporate life anymore. I can be a lot freer than what I am, and I can pay more attention to raising my children, as an example?
What it was I had actually a fear of having children in a way, because of the way the system is designed. And the feelings I had of being in that system, I didn't want actually to bring anyone into the world to feel like that. Then after the university, I'm like, you know what? It's actually my responsibility to share that information with whoever I can, and the best would be my own children. So for me, I look forward to the idea of being able to teach them these concepts, helping them broaden their horizons, see things in a different way, that it's not about the 8 to 5, or that you need to do a conventional job, that you don't even need to work the same thing forever and ever, if you can, if that's your passion, but that they can try new things every single day until they find something that's their passion. And they can use the formula for riches to make it work for them, because if you've got almost no risk or zero risk, the reward is infinite.
It's infinite.
Yeah.
Brendon, from your point of view, how did you experience it, and how on earth did you get to the position that you're at the moment by simply following a very systematic but a very simple system?
So to back up for a second there, on the let's just give some insight into what level I am at the moment.
Okay.
So on business side, I'm only really at a level 3, crossing over to a level 4, with a good knowledge of what the other levels are. But I'm quite okay with being at a level 4, simply because there's a lot of money to be made in a level 3 and a level 4.
Actually, at the level 2.
At a
you
level
can make
2,
all the
make
money
lots of
that you want, but your time is, you're involved the whole time. You're not, you haven't got the time freedom as such. But you can make a hell of a lot of money on level 2 already.
Exactly. So as I've built my business on the business and the property investment side of things, is I haven't really worried too much about the levels that much at this point in time, because through the design process I've freed up a hell of a lot of my time, because my investments are now paying dividends, because it's taken the long-term view instead of the short-term view. And in terms of transaction value, I've personally been involved in the last 6 years, almost $200 million worth of property transactions.
That is dollars.
Dollars.
Okay.
So that's probably so 3 billion rand.
My other students get it. It's not rands. It's dollars.
It's dollars. So that's 3 billion rand, which is probably the size of a small property fund in South Africa.
And you're quite relaxed.
I'm pretty relaxed, yeah. I don't own it myself. I mean, that's helping investors and selling some properties and all the rest of that stuff. And in terms of the last year, if I had to look at that growth, I mean, it took 6 years to do all of that, but in the last year, I've done $70 million with almost zero effort. And that portfolio, I own a significant stake of myself. Don't own the whole thing because it's shared between a bunch of partners, but I do own a significant stake. And what's happening is it's just accelerating now. It's going faster and faster and faster. And because of the way I've designed the business, I've got very low overheads. It's my cell phone. That's it. I can travel and work off my laptop like I have with you now. And through that, I mean, I literally have to print stuff at the hotel that we're staying at, and so you make a plan wherever you are. But I don't need an office environment with a hell of a lot of staff, with high overheads and a lot of risk and all the rest of the stuff that goes with that, where you're driven now to make sure you're meeting the money demands of your business because of the overheads you've created and not actually making any money for yourself. Right now, I make a lot of money for myself, and I keep it all. I don't really have to share it with anybody.
That's the ideal. That is what we want at the end of the day, is not to have that massive overheads and worry about how the hell and where you're going to get the money to pay the staff. If you can take all of that,
that's the conventional way of doing business.
That's a conventional way of doing business, and you're definitely not following the conventional way that I can assure the people out there as well. How did you position yourself in terms of your business from a risk point? Because you say you're not really taking risk. If you can give us more or less an outline.
So on the business side, one is I wanted to reduce risk by not having too many overheads and not employing too many people. So I worked myself into a position where I could do that. Two is I tried to be the dumbest person in the room. So whenever I was looking to do a property investment or something like that, at one stage I was researching and doing a lot of normal single family homes, so normal houses. And then as we shifted up into commercial projects with higher and higher value points, I got the benefit of sitting at the boardroom table where people are negotiating on commercial projects worth millions of dollars, and all I did was keep quiet and learn and take notes and listen and watch how they negotiated and watch what they measured and learned the different terms and the jargon and said, okay, well, they're allowing me to be a part of this, and what value am I adding? Why are they letting me sit at this table? And then I realized in that I had a certain value that they needed, which was I do the work. So because I'm able to get stuff done, there are very rich people that know how to do that negotiation type of stuff. But when it comes to the nitty-gritty, actually reading the operating agreement, doing the due diligence on the project, going through every single file, reading the leases, checking the bank statements, checking the, if you're reading the leases, seeing, oh, he put down $700 deposit, where is that deposit? Who's sitting with it? How much interest has it earned for the last 2 years that he's been there? So when you go through the due diligence pack on a commercial building, I've got a 140-point due diligence checklist that I follow to make sure that I've got a system that I'm not forgetting stuff.
Again, extremely important. Unless you're going to have a system, it's not going to work for you. Because you have to follow that system, and that system then becomes almost like you form a habit, an investment habit or a business habit. And the moment that you keep on doing that, it becomes, like you've said, it becomes boring because you simply repeat the process over and over. And when I say to my students, it's so bloody boring making money, I know that they don't believe me. That's the reason why we do the stuff that we do, because it's flipping. You do the same bloody thing over and over, and each and every time the money comes in. But people, well, they don't believe it. They don't want to believe it.
If you are listening, it is true. Just trust me on it, and then when you get there, you'll realize that it's true.
But it's taken time to develop. It's been a process. It's not an overnight thing. It's been years of focus and investing in yourself, investing time in yourself, investing in learning more about it in the background, not just sitting listening in the meeting. They'll say something, you'll write down, make a note. Okay, what does he mean when he says cap rate or whatever? And you'll go and you'll look it up online and get as much information as you can from people that already know. So why go and take 10 years to learn about something when you can go and take 10 days to read a book and get as much information as you can?
And learn from the best in the world.
Well, that's also what I say. If you decide on something and that's your intent, go to someone that you know that has done it before. Not that talks the talk, but that can actually walk the walk. That's the bottom line. And then go and see if that person has got a system, because if that person hasn't got a system and a way for you to duplicate the system.
Yes.
You'll have to do everything all over, even if you know, okay, this is the direction. In terms of the Wealth Creators University, coming back to that, we've got different courses, but I know for a fact that there's one of the courses that to you, I can almost say was more beneficial than the others, and that was the blueprint.
Yes.
Why was that so important to you?
So the blueprints, you've seen a lot of how I design stuff is I always work with a mind map, and in one of the books that you had, the blueprint, I think the first or the second page had the mind map, and it was a little bit difficult to read, but somehow or other in my brain I just saw because I'd been doing mind maps for so long, it imprinted in my head, and I said, yeah, this is real value. And then I was very fortunate, right after the Wealth Creators University, I was in limbo because we were going overseas, and I was staying at Linda's parents' place, and I had 2 weeks where I could really just internalize everything you'd taught us. So I went through all the stuff again, and the blueprint kept coming up as the one that just...
But it systemizes everything.
It systemizes everything, but in anything, if you're doing an investment or a business or just going to the gym, it gives you an outline of what you need to do to get results in a very short amount of time. So if you literally just follow 2 or 3 of the items of the blueprint, you can get massive results, and you don't even need to do all of it because it's a lot. But if you just follow it, it's phenomenally valuable. And if you do it again and again and again, eventually it becomes ingrained in you, and the ability to keep doing it gets easier and easier. But that first time that I did it, I mean, I created enough money, I think it was about 50 or 60,000 Rand within 31 days, off of just taking the blueprint and offering my client the blueprint. I gave him a small piece of the blueprint. I said, you know what, all I'm going to do is make this simple. I designed a marketing campaign for them on the blueprint, copied it and pasted it, and they paid me for it, and I made money. So.
And this is another thing. You know, we think that you have to go to university to learn a skill. But actually you're not learning a skill, you're gaining a hell of a lot of information with no skills attached to that information. And therefore the information is actually useless when it comes to convert that into money with low risk. Now you have to go through the whole process. And what I'm trying to tell people is that you can learn a skill in a very, very short time. You can learn 4 or 5 skills literally within a week or 2 weeks' time, and then use that skill and start making money.
Immediately, there's no delay.
That's the beauty. I've got one of the courses that I'm actually giving away for free, how to build a website with a WordPress template.
And if you want to have a business with the shortest route to market, build a website. I mean, it costs you 100 Rand or 150 Rand for a domain name, and then if you've got the skill to build a website, which you're giving away for free, you've immediately got a store, a marketplace, that you can send people to buy your product or your service. Without that skill, you're hampered in your whole life. So yeah, it's phenomenal. And to pay somebody for it when you can get a WordPress site, literally, if you can use Facebook, you can use WordPress. It's that simple.
It's that simple, and this is what I say. Now, I go one step further and I say, flip and don't buy the domain. Simply go, first collect the money, tell a person that you're going to help them, get the money, then buy the domain.
And the sequencing that you follow, that's, there's so much power in the formula for riches, but one of the major things that has impacted my life is working out the sequencing of events. So, as an example, exactly what you said there is you can collect some money off an idea of something you've spoken to somebody about.
We call it the prototype.
Yeah, and then take that money and buy the domain name and set up a PTY limited company and go buy an accounting system or something.
Develop the product, do the marketing, all from the prototype that has cost you nothing.
Yes.
So you've got no risk whatsoever, financial risk attached to it. And the other, in terms of your time and the effort that you're going to put in, all of that is experience, which is to build a competency, because it's a competency that's going to take you to the next levels.
100%.
Brendon, in terms of how can you help other people, like some of my students or people that may be listening to us at the moment?
The first thing I would say is take some time and really dig deep into any of the content that Hannes is giving you. Even if you just go through the free stuff, and really just take some time to make some notes and apply whatever you're learning in the free stuff, and then when you want to transverse over and go study, go in depth with Hannes in person, it's exceptionally valuable. So number one is, as I say, invest in yourself. And it sounds like such a cliche because so many people say that, but the investment in yourself is to say, no, you can read an article and think that you're investing in yourself, or read a book and think you're investing. That's not it. You've got to take that content and physically do something with it and say, okay, now what happened? So that's the investment in yourself, is the crossover between knowing something and doing something. So once you've learned a lot of that stuff with Hannes, and then go and try something and do something and see if it works and make some money. On the other side of things, what I personally do is I help people invest in property in America. And what I try and do is I try and build your fundamental principles into the property investments that we are doing. And I shared a lot of those principles with you over the last 10 days or so. And you got to meet some of my partners here in the US, very professional, knowledgeable people. So from that perspective, if anybody in South Africa wants to invest in property in the USA alongside us, so we buy the project and we do it together. I don't sell anything to anybody. We just buy it and we do it together as partners in the project. Then please get a hold of me. My email address is brendon@infinityinvestment.com, and maybe Hannes can add a little thing afterwards. Or my telephone number is 082-3300-570, South African code. And if you want to get hold of me to invest alongside me, you're welcome to. And typically investors are getting between 20 and about 25% internal rate of return over 5 years. In dollars, not in rands. So it's measured in dollars. If you're investing in dollars, we measure in dollars. I don't take the rand slide as part of my profits like some other people do. So from that side of things, I understand that what Hannes teaches in terms of the property investment is you can get infinite returns. You can get a property for free. But the way I've structured my business is the in-between guys, the people that want to be wealth creators but have a purpose and are following their purpose and simply don't have the time to go and be a professional property investor as well as following their purpose. And if they've created a surplus and they want to invest it and know that they're investing alongside somebody that's not fleecing them or something like that, then they can absolutely come and invest alongside us, and they don't have to invest that time, and like I have over the last 6 years, to do $200 million worth of projects and have some headaches and pains through that learning. They can just go and invest alongside me if they want to.
This is definitely not what I'm teaching. I'm teaching people how to become wealth creators.
And take responsibility.
Here's the thing. 95% of people out there will not take the responsibility. And they have to have an alternative. And there are no alternatives. Because if you look at the conventional way of things, you are going to be bloody lucky to get 10 and 12% in South Africa. I'm not even talking about in the United States. I'm not even talking about that.
Yeah, 8% is phenomenal.
You have to look at something where the risk is low or relatively low, and where you've got like a partner that you can go into a partnership where you've got a certain amount of control, and then of course to make sure that you at least outperform. I know what the average is, whatever that may be, in that specific country. So I think that you're doing something great, and well done on that, and well done on applying that little formula in the wealth creator strategy. And the wealth creator strategy, if you really look at it, is actually very simple. It's the intelligent use of limited resources, and the biggest limited resource that we've got will be our time. A lot of people think it's money, but you don't need money. You've proved it over and over and over in your business ventures. You don't need money to make money. So the most precious commodity that we've got is our time. And the way that you are handling your time, and we've traveled now for a couple of days, and I know you for some time, you are optimizing that, and I want to congratulate you.
Thank you.
I think I'm glad.
It's been a lot of fun.
And I'm really glad that you are my students, and that you've implemented that, and that you've got a great and wonderful life. And I hope that you're going to transfer that to your children, and make sure that your children will have exceptionally rich and well-balanced parents.
Thank you very much, Hans. And I just want to say, last thing is that the opportunity when you Skyped me briefly and said, will you be in Atlanta? I'm like, I don't know, will you be in Atlanta? And you said yes. I said, okay, then I'll be there. So it was, I'm very humbled and thankful that you and Tanya allowed us to journey with you for the last 10 days. I've had a lot of fun, and I think it's the starting point of even more fun to come in the future. So thank you.
Oh, it's just great to have you. Unfortunately, you're going back tomorrow. We're still going to continue, but I think Tanya and myself, we enjoyed your company, and it was really a pleasure. So well done, and all of the best for the future.
Thank you very much, Hannes.
Thank you.
And Tanya, thank you.